Wife cheated and abandoned me for a rich man. Came back after 5 years begging me to take her back. I, male 32, married my first wife, Olivia. Name changed. Female 32, at the age of 24. We were young when we fell in love. At the time, I thought that she was the perfect woman. But boy, was I wrong. One moment, I thought we were madly in love. But she didn't give it a second thought when she left me for a wealthy businessman. That's when I realized what she really wanted from me. I can't exactly remember the first time I noticed Olivia. We grew up in the same small town and attended the same high school. But we didn't hang out in the same friend group back then. She was one of the most beautiful girls at our school, and I was just some geeky kid. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever have a shot with her. Fast forward to a few years later, I just returned to our small town after graduating from university. I was preparing to start a job at the veterinary clinic and had just moved into a new condo. Of course, it was a big change coming back to a quiet small town from a fast-paced university lifestyle in the city. But I was looking forward to reconnecting with some old friends and being close to my family again. A few nights after settling into my condo, I went out to a bar downtown to hang out with some old friends. I offered to buy everyone a round of drinks and headed up to the bar. As I got closer to the bar, I noticed that there was something very familiar about the bartender. It took me a moment to recognize who it was. But then it hit me. That beautiful girl I used to see in the hallway every day in high school was now a woman. "What's your poison, honey?" she asked me. Now, I can't lie about this next part. My heart was racing and I was feeling nervous. At this moment, I felt like a geeky teenager all over again. I just stood there with a blank look on my face. It might have only been a few seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. I opened my mouth and the only thing to come out of it was an awkward, what? I felt like the biggest idiot on the planet. What was wrong with me? I had just spent the last 4 years living in the city, always going out and talking to women. Now, I was a nervous wreck. But there was something about Olivia that always made me nervous. "You went to Westbrook High, didn't you?" Olivia asked as she was pouring the drinks. At that moment, I was in complete shock. All these years, I thought I was invisible to her. As the night went on, I kept offering to buy rounds of drinks for the table. I was using any excuse to go up and chat with the bartender. I was meeting with my friends after many years, so none of us wanted that night to be over. Apart from my friends, I found another reason to not leave the bar that night. It was Olivia. I don't know if it was the alcohol or if Olivia was much more down-to-earth than I initially thought, but I was feeling a lot more comfortable approaching her as the night went on. Before closing, she asked for my phone and put her number in it. Over the next year, things went really well. The clinic I was working for extended its hours, and I was making really good money. I was approved for a mortgage and preparing to move into my first house. Olivia and I started dating after that night at the bar. On our first date, I knew she was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I proposed to her 5 months into the relationship, and she said yes. We got married within a year. My friends and family thought I was crazy moving so fast with the relationship, but I didn't care. The first few years of our marriage, it seemed like a dream. I made enough at the clinic to support us both. We weren't millionaires or anything, but it was enough to pay the bills and get by. Olivia had left her job at the bar once we got married. She told me she wanted to take some time off work and focus on her art. This seemed strange to me at first because she had never shown interest in painting, drawing, or anything of the sort. But I wanted to be a supportive husband. Olivia didn't get a stroke of luck with her art passion, but she was called by her ex-boss for part-time bartending work during peak season and major bookings. She was good at her job and loved it too, but she didn't want to do it full-time. We were good for a couple of years until one day her old boss from the bar called her again. This time it was a big corporate event taking place in town. CEOs and business owners from all over the state were traveling to our small town for investment and expansion of their businesses. It was a month-long summit. Olivia's boss needed some skilled and seasoned employees for that event, and hence, Olivia was called in for it temporarily. She too readily agreed to it because the pay was really good. I didn't think anything of it at first, but I started to feel like something wasn't right a few weeks into the gig. Olivia was working every single night and she was staying out later than usual. It was usual for bartenders to wrap their day post-midnight, so I didn't bat an eye. For the first few days, she was home by 3 a.m. After a week, one morning my alarm went off at 7 a.m. Olivia wasn't in bed next to me. I checked my phone and saw there was a text message from her saying that it was the last night of corporate events. The people were staying late, and she had no idea when she would be done. After all, these were some big-shot customers willing to put out a lot of money. I didn't mind thinking it was just one time. However, as the days passed, her schedule got me suspicious. I used to leave for work at 8 a.m. and on most days she wasn't home until then. By the time I came back home, she was already gone. So it was more than 4 or 5 days since I had seen her. I asked her what time she was getting back home, and she said 9 a.m. But I checked the CCTV footage on my house. According to it, she used to come home by the afternoon, by 12 p.m. Surprisingly, she didn't look tired when she came home. Also, no bars are open in the morning, or at least they don't let the night shift employee continue during the day. I was always a trusting husband, but this didn't feel right. So, in the 4th week, I decided to leave for work at 9 a.m., but she wasn't home by then. I decided to clear the air and put an end to my thoughts. Hence, I went to the hotel where she was put up. It was a 5-star hotel where the business summit was happening, and Olivia's company got the contract of managing the bar and the bartending service for that event. On my way, I got her a berry smoothie, knowing they were her favorite, and a fresh croissant. I was going to drop it off for her at the bar. When I arrived, the bar was closed. The doors were locked, the lights were off, and the place was dead quiet. I went to the reception of that hotel asking about the bar. The receptionist gave me a look for asking about the bar at 10 a.m. in the morning. She told me that the bar closes at 1 a.m. sharp. I inquired that there was a business summit going on, and for that reason, if it was possible that the bar section of that hotel was running until morning. She got perplexed at my question and said that the bar closes at 1 a.m. sharp and cut me off. I sounded creepy to her, maybe. Before this moment, something in the back of my mind was telling me she had been lying. I just didn't want to believe it. I texted Olivia asking where she was. She said she was at the bar. I sent her a picture of me standing in front of the closed bar and asked her to come out wherever she was, so that we could talk this out. She said that she would reach home in an hour. I had something important at work, so I had to go to the office, but I was distracted most of the time. I texted Olivia not to leave the house until we had further conversation. I rushed home after wrapping up my work. As I reached home, Olivia's car was in the driveway. I somehow sensed that things were not going to be the same when I walked through that door, but I wasn't expecting the surprise that I got. When I stepped through our front door, I could tell something was different about our house. I was never one to pay attention to the little details. That was always Olivia's thing. But something was off. Olivia was sitting at our kitchen table. She looked stiff and uncomfortable. The look of someone who had news she didn't want to share. That's when I noticed 3 packed suitcases behind her. She wasn't saying anything at first, which made me very uncomfortable. I don't know if she couldn't figure out the words to say or if she was just waiting for me to say something first. Every second felt like an hour as I asked her about the packed suitcases. That's when she started crying. She tried to tell me that she got an opportunity she couldn't pass on and was leaving to chase her dream. Her voice was trembling and she couldn't make eye contact with me. That told me everything she was saying was a lie. I could feel my blood boiling the more she lied. I'm usually mild-tempered, but something about the person I trusted the most lying to me set me off. Out of frustration, I slammed my hand on the table and yelled at her to speak the truth. During our 2-year marriage, this was the only time I had ever raised my voice to Olivia, but being lied to can bring out the worst in a person. That's when she came out with the truth. I almost wish I never had to ask to hear it, because I can still remember the pain to this day. My wife was leaving me for one of the businessmen she met at the bar, some millionaire that lived upstate. It is 5 years since then. Of course, it was a tough period for me, but the details of that are not relevant. I sold the house we were living in and moved into a nicer neighborhood. I am now married to a beautiful and ambitious woman named Kara, and we're expecting a baby. Life is good, so why talk about the ex? For the past few years, Olivia has been nothing but a distant memory. But a few days back, I got a text from her that she was back in town and wants to meet. I ignored her messages, but she pinged me nonstop, saying that it was something urgent. Here's the thing. I don't want her back in my life. But I'm also wondering what this urgent thing is that she wants to talk about. What should I do? Honestly, I'm not sure it's a good idea to meet her again. She did you real dirty. I mean, she cheated on you with someone who had a ton of money and then decided to leave you for them. Or, sorry, she left you for the money. I'm not sure digging up the past is ever a good thing. Sometimes we have to leave the dead in the dirt. Update 1. Thanks for the suggestions, everyone. I know it's been a few months since I posted an update. Kara gave birth to our baby boy a few weeks ago, and we're adjusting to being first-time parents. As some of you suggested, Olivia may want to meet up because she wanted to apologize. I could give her the benefit of the doubt and agreed to meet up with her for a coffee. When I first arrived at the coffee shop, I saw her sitting in a booth waiting. She smiled as soon as she noticed me. For a brief moment, I thought some of you may be right. That maybe All she wanted was forgiveness. At first, she tried to play it off cool. She made small talk like anyone would when they were catching up with someone they hadn't spoken to in years. But I noticed she was up to her old games. As she talked about moving back into town, she would look for excuses to move closer to me or to touch my hand. I would inch away or brush her off, but I could tell she thought she could win me over. I moved back from her and told her to stay put in her limits. I could see her cheeks turn pink as she realized I wouldn't crack. She said she missed me. I knew this wasn't true. It took her an instant to decide to leave our marriage when an established millionaire paid her an ounce of attention. Not once over the past 5 years she tried to reach out to me. That's when I told her to cut the crap and tell me the reason for her urgent meeting request. She started crying, and for the first time I didn't feel bad seeing her in pain. This was just a sliver of the emotional pain she caused me when she left. She said that she knew that she betrayed me and I hate her, but I was the only person I can turn to. She was right, I did hate her. But I still cared for her as a person, as weird as that sounds. A part of me did not want to know what her deal was and why it involved me. I asked her what did she want from me. She asked me to lend her some money, $5,000 to be exact. You see, her millionaire boyfriend never put a ring on her finger. When he started hooking up with his hot new assistant, he gave Olivia the boot. Now, she doesn't have a dime to her name. It seems like karma caught up with her, after all. I don't know why I was so surprised that this was the reason she asked to meet up. When we were together, I was too blinded by love. But once she left, I realized what purpose I served her. You see, she never actually noticed me when we were kids. But that night at the bar, she overheard my friends and me catching up. She heard all about the good job I was starting in my new condo. Hell, after a few beers, I probably even let it slip how much money I was making. She only saw dollar signs and a man simple enough to fall for charm. Of course, I retrospect all these only after she left. I had no intention of giving her a loan, but I was curious what she had to say. So I asked her the reason she needed the money. She filled me in on all the details of where her life was now. When her relationship ended, she came back, hoping to stay with her parents until she figured things out. Obviously, she hadn't been in touch with her parents all these years, so she didn't know that they sold their house and moved into a one-bedroom beachside apartment. Olivia told me that she needed the money to restart her life, rent an apartment, etc. She also wanted some money to cover expenses while working on a painting that she hoped to sell to a trendy gallery in the city. Of course, I asked her if the gallery had agreed to commission her. She mentioned wanting to focus on art during our marriage, but during the whole 2 years she never created a single painting or anything. To be fair, I didn't know if she could paint or not. I have never seen a piece of her work. Olivia admitted that she hadn't spoken to anyone from the gallery. She was planning on creating a piece that she could sell to them. This was typical for Olivia, thinking that she could just walk into a place and immediately impress them just because she existed. Immediately, I denied her. I wasn't rude about it. I didn't say any of the cruel thoughts that were invading my head. Instead, I told her the truth that I had just had a kid and I was paying off a mortgage. I didn't have that kind of money to spare right now. She bargained for $3,000, but I didn't give in. She began to explain how she was worried about having nowhere to stay. The bar she used to work at was under new management and didn't need any help. Whatever she was trying to sell, I wasn't buying it. If she wanted to explore herself, she could do it with her own money. I told her that I supported her during our marriage, but she'd decided to explore her way into a millionaire's bed. I'll never forget how her expression changed in an instant. She went from an innocent damsel in distress to a cold-hearted villain. This is when she told me, "You owe me, actually. I didn't come for anything during the divorce. I should have gotten alimony or at least half of the money you got from selling the house, but I let you off easy. That can change, though." That was enough for me. I might have thrown a few curse words her way. Who wouldn't? But that was the last time I would give her the benefit of the doubt. When I got home, I blocked her on all social media apps. The thing is, I'm worried about what she will do next. Can she come after me for money after all these years? Should I talk to a lawyer? I don't know, guys. Any suggestions would be helpful. Thanks. I think you're totally good. She can't come at you for anything, OP. I can't believe she had the guts to come to you for money. That's delusional behavior. And then to threaten you that she would legally come after you? It totally came from a place of fear because she's desperate. Obviously, everything she said before, that was a load of BS. It's scary to think that someone can look you in the eyes and tell you endless lies and pretend to be someone they're not. And she almost had you at the tears. Stay sharp, OP. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm sorry I've taken so long to update you guys. Life has been insanely busy for us lately. But I know that's not why you're keeping up with my posts. You're probably wondering what happened after my exchange with Olivia. Well, I'm happy to say absolutely nothing. She was all biting with no bark. Just to be on the safe side, I did speak with a lawyer. Well, sort of. My colleague's brother works for a law firm, and he lets me know that in this state, an ex-partner can't go after alimony after the original divorce case had been settled. Even if she did get a lawyer, she didn't have a case to move forward with. Plus, she doesn't have the money to fight a case. I'll give her props for trying, but she won't fool me again. I blocked her number as well as all social media apps. Of course, living in a small town does make it impossible to avoid hearing about someone completely. As much as you try to distance yourself from them, someone else will eventually bring up what they're doing. I was told she moved upstate to stay with one of her old high school friends. Luckily, she won't be around to secret claws into my life anymore. If she wants to play games, they'll have to be on someone else's board. As for me, we're preparing for summer vacation. Kara and I have both booked a few weeks off in August. We've put a down payment on our RV and are going to travel around the state visiting different campsites. They might be crazy about hitting the road with a baby, but we're excited about the journey. Update 3. Wow, I can't believe how many people have been keeping up with this story. It sounds like many of you had to deal with your own version of Olivia too. I was finished with this post after my last update, but something happened that I thought you guys might be interested in hearing about. Remember how I mentioned that we planned a road trip in the RV? We spent the last 3 weeks traveling around and exploring the state. I was surprised by how good of a traveler our baby was. So, on our way back, we stopped at a diner just off the highway. It didn't look like the nicest place from the outside, but it was convenient. Kara and I were both too hungry at this point to be picky about where we ate. Once we were seated and placed our orders, I excused myself to use the washroom. As I was washing my hands, I heard some commotion outside the doors. It sounded like a manager schooling one of the employees. I heard the manager say it was the third complaint they had gotten about the employee in that 1 week. Apparently she gave a 4-year-old hot sauce instead of ketchup. Then, I heard a voice that sounded very familiar. I couldn't put my finger on how I knew it. It was Olivia, apologizing to the manager for the last chance, promising to mend her ways. Okay, in any other situation, I would have waited outside the washroom for the conversation to be over. An employee getting scolded by their boss doesn't need any more humiliation added on top, but this was something I wanted to see. As I was drying my hands, I could hear her manager calling her irresponsible and lazy. He also rebuked her for keeping her section unattended and dirty, giving her the last warning. I opened the washroom door and stepped into the restaurant hallway at the exact same time the manager warned her that it was a last warning, and one more mistake, she would be out of a job. The look on her face at this moment was something I will never forget. I'm probably the last person she wanted to see when her manager said those words. I didn't say anything to her, although her manager did seem slightly embarrassed that a customer overheard him tell off an employee. He came to our table to apologize and offered Kara and me a dessert on the house. Now, I wasn't expecting much out of that little diner, but getting free pie and seeing my ex-wife being held accountable for her behavior was well worth it. I'll have to give that place a good review later. I guess this will be the last of my Olivia updates. My family and career deserve all of my focus moving forward. I guess she got what she deserved. Ah, right where she belongs. That's extremely satisfying. Now she actually has to work for something in her life. What do you make of this? Do you have your own little Olivia story? Share it with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Tune in next time.